welcome to Legends of Jazz. It's good to see you. No one is sure who was the very first jazz pianist, but Jelly Roll Morton was certainly there at the beginning. So was Fats Waller, who built up the stride piano style to create a more modern sound, influencing players like Art Tatum, who became one of the greatest, most technically gifted jazz pianists of all time. Next came the swing years, defined by such giants as the one, the only Count Basie, the great Teddy Wilson, and the legendary Duke Ellington. Bebop years saw the arrival of incredible technicians like Bud Powell, Oscar Peterson, and Thelonious Monk. Their impact and influence on jazz went far beyond the piano and inspired innovators like Bill Evans and McCoy Tyner to create schools of jazz piano all their own. Then there are today's living legends like Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, and Keith Jarrett. We are proud to have with us two more true piano masters, the incomparable Dave Brubeck and the one and only Billy Taylor, Dr. Billy Taylor. Dave, Bill. Now, Dave, you were the first jazz musician to make the cover of Time magazine. How did that feel?
Scary. The terrible thing about it is I have admired Duke Ellington so long, and they were doing a story on both of us, and I was praying that his would come out first, because I had no business being ahead of Duke. We were on tour together, and there was a knock on my door, 7 o'clock in the morning. Open the door, and there's Duke. He hands me Time magazine, and he says, "Dave, you're on the cover."
Of course, probably not only your performance, but the fact that you had sold 1 million albums might have had something to do with it. But I heard early on, weren't you working a cattle ranch? Or were you going to be, did you plan to be a musician right off the bat?
No. Well, in our family, you were a musician very young. But my dad said, "You're the last of my 3 sons. You're going to stay here and help me on the ranch."
Did you?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about East Coast, West Coast jazz.
Well, I was so happy in San Francisco because my friends were all from there. And we didn't know that we were inventing cool jazz. We were just playing. We didn't say we're the cool jazz musicians. The critics said that.
When you released the record, Time Out, that really went over the top for you. Talk about making that record, featuring unusual time signatures.
I wanted to do an album that got away from the marching beat of 4/4. And I said to myself, why should jazz be such a simple beat? When it comes from Africa, these people are playing in the most complex time signatures. And I wanted to do that. Columbia Records didn't want to put it out.
Really, why?
Well, you can't have a painting on the cover of a jazz album. You can't have all originals on one album. And you can't have all these crazy tempos that you're playing in that no one can dance to. So they stopped the album for quite a while, except the president of Columbia was a musician, and he believed in Take Five and Blue Rondo, and he fought his own company till the record came out.
Thank God for that.
You know,
You feel like playing the piano for us?
you bet.
I was hoping you'd say that. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Brubeck. What's the name of the piece?
That was Someday My Prince Will Come.
Walt Disney. Billy Taylor, my goodness. Musician, educator, PhD, author, broadcaster, Peabody, an Emmy Award winner, and I probably left out about 10 or 12. Couldn't find out what you really wanted to do? Or?
Well, I had to try a lot of things, you know, to see what would work out.
Well, you were a master at all.
Well, I went right back to the first thing that I always did, which was play the piano. So,
Talk about the early days when you left Virginia and you went to New York City, Minton's.
yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I was very lucky. I went to New York on a Friday night and went to Minton's, and in those days you could jam. I sat around all night waiting for my turn to play because there were a lot of piano players who wanted to play too. I look up and one of my idols, Ben Webster, was in. I said, oh, wow, I really wanted to play now, but the band is, I mean, everybody's around. I get an 8-bar here and an 8-bar there, something. So he kept getting closer and closer to the piano, and he came over and kind of looked over my shoulder. And so after the set, he said, I didn't really get to hear very much of what you. Why don't you come down to my club? I like what I heard. So, because I told him had just come in town. And he said, I'll give you an audition, see what you. So the third night I was in town, I had a job working on 52nd Street.
Amazing. Now, that's a first for New York City.
Really?
You played a lot of places in those early days, and you were the house pianist at Birdland?
Yeah, that was a wonderful experience. I got to play literally with everybody that I ever wanted to play with. I mean, that was the place of choice for jazz musicians at that time. And so I got to play opposite Ellington, opposite Basie. My first job there at Birdland was with Charlie Parker and strings, and I had never worked with Bird. I'd jammed with him, but I mean, it was just, you know, I thought I died and gone to heaven. I mean, everything was just wonderful. Really.
That's the way to go to New York. So there must have been some early influences in your playing.
Oh yeah, well, the biggest influence on me was Art Tatum. I mean, my uncle Robert played an Art Tatum record. You know, I wanted to know who those two guys were.
Right. Art and Tatum.
Yeah, really, because I had never heard anyone play that cleanly and play all of the things that were going on at that time. So I wanted to play like that. Actually, the first job I got on 52nd Street, working with Ben Webster, opposite Art Tatum. Tatum was the headliner of that show. So I asked Art when I got to know him a little bit. I said, "How was that first night when I was playing?" He said, "It was fast." It's the best thing you can say about it.
Jazz musicians use just about any song to improvise, but there's also the old standards. You and I have done some jobs together, and you always pull out those old gems, and you come up with a new approach to it. Give us a demonstration.
Okay.
Billy Taylor, ladies and gentlemen. It's all yours. Dr. Bill. Beautiful. Wonderful. A master class, my man.
Thank you.
All the things you that was great. Well, we just happen to have a second piano. Can we make best use of that? Would you?
I think we can try.
What are you going to play?
Both of us are big Ellington fans, and his theme song, which is written by Billy Strayhorn, is just one of my favorites.
Well, this is something special now, ladies and gentlemen. A two-piano version of Billy Strayhorn's "Take the A Train." Dave Brubeck, Billy Taylor. my goodness. Do you guys mind playing the theme out with me? I don't want to play it by myself.
Sure. What are we going to do, though?
Well, it's a secret.
Okay.
You know how jazz is. We'll just make it up as we go.
There you go.
Okay. Billy Taylor, Dave Brubeck. Thank you.